What started, as I showed you on my previous video, setting up a test track and testing out some of the old cars, has turned into something completely different and horrible. As I pulled out all the old track sets that I had purchased for my sons in the 1990s and 2000s. And all the cars. What did I do in 2008? I don't even remember. So I went into deep storage and pulled out everything that I had out of every case and tried to reassemble the sets from pieces. Some sets were complete. For example, this color shifter set, except I don't have the car to it, which is weird. This T-Rex Rampage set, which this dinosaur has not had batteries in it for years. And the set is as goofy as I remember it being. The Cyborg Spinner, which came with a red six-wheel car, and I finally found it on the bottom of one of my storage bins. It's this car, but it's in green. And I actually have all the parts to the Cyborg Spinner. I'm going to be profiling what I have coming up as I clean up this horrific quote-unquote mess that I've created for myself. Good Lord.
Kabam! Beat that! Not so fast, Hot Wheels! Kabam! I'll be back, Hot Wheels!
I think some things might simply have gone AWOL or thrown away as time began. For example, on this Spider Slam, I've got the track here, and there's a few pieces on my loop that I used over here. I've got the track, I've got the really wild crossover piece, the 4-speed starter unit, but only one part of the Spider, and I'm missing the connector. So I'm thinking on sets like this, I might buy another set that's missing pieces, or another whole used set and put together and have one set. I don't know. I did find the car that went with it, as well as a similar model car that didn't have the, this is the correct one that has this, this actual Spider on it. But then I have another car that is identical to it with a slightly different motif called the Turbo Flame. And one has a kind of a stainless chassis, or metal chassis, I should say. One has a metal chassis. The other one is I think it's metal as well, but it's painted black, so it's kind of interesting. I never even realized I had two versions of the same car, one which was set specific. But so I have some content on that. I also have what I believe is a complete Power Loop Stunt Set, which I have right here. I believe that's complete. And this is the car to it, right here, which is a Phantasm. Then I've got the CCM Country Club muscle car right here, which is really cool. And that came with this Dino tail bash unit that, aside from the car being removed from it, this had never been removed from the box. It was wrapped up, it had the instruction manual right there. We never played with it. I think a lot of these sets I got for my kids to try out, and the ones that just had cars run into each other, like this one right here, okay, they just weren't that interested. They were more interested, like I was, in setting out layouts and seeing how far the cars could go. I've got a really cool starter set This is from, I believe, 2008 right here. It's set up. I'm going to show this in operation when I get this a little less cluttered. Okay, and that came with a really good car. One of my fastest cars. It came with this Camaro. I had to do a lot of research. Mattel's got a great site that if you know the part number from the box, it will give you a little tiny picture that's hard to see, but also a link to hopefully the instruction manual. And then the other piece of research is looking on eBay to find a set and see what car they show with it. It's really kind of hard to find. There's also a wiki, a Hot Wheels wiki that is helpful, and that's what a lot of these printed pages are from. And you can kind of do some detective work through that. It's not perfect. It takes some time and some digging, but I was able to find that out on these 4 sets, and that was greatly helpful as you're going through boxes of old cars to try to find the cars that went with your various sets. So some of these sets I've got very, very few parts to. An example of this is the Performance Track Pack, which was a Toys R Us exclusive. I still have the box, which is rather battered. I had it out in my shed. I kept all these boxes, which I don't even remember keeping these boxes, but it had 4 equivalent sets in it. Junkyard Dog Attack Track, Wreck and Roll, Crash and Transport, and Crash Canyon. I remember setting this up years and years ago, and this rock formation would kind of break apart when you ran through it. It was all rubber banded together, but almost this entire set is gone. I don't know where the parts and pieces are. The Crash and Transport, I have all the pieces, almost all the pieces too, except the little barrels and stuff that it crashes through. Now, what I'm going to show you in this video is a number of sets that focus during a couple of flurries of collecting activity I did. One in the late 1990s, and then one, oddly enough, in 2008. And I don't remember why, but I picked up a lot of different stuff in 2008, mostly from Toys R Us. All different sizes, I think, because both my sons were at the age where they could enjoy Hot Wheels. This is the starter set, and what was inside the starter set was basically some track, what they called a power charger booster, which is this style, later to evolve into the mid-2000s power booster, a little more compact, but very similar. You could buy these separately too, but the starter set gave you one, and it made this very basic loop layout. The car that came with it is known as an 80s Camaro. This is the one that has the fire decals and these kind of non-spoke wheels. I forgot the name of what they call these wheels, but it's this style. And you can see this on the Hot Wheels wiki. I'll share the website in the comment section. And there was a model that was just like this, only had the spoke wheels. And then there was a model like this that had a striping arrangement on the doors and not the flames. But this car was always one of my fastest cars. It's very lightweight, and I think they made it so for this very basic track system, so it would make it all the way around this track layout. Now, this is a very simple track layout. We've got 2 sets of 4-piece curves and these interesting little standoff trestles. Okay, 2 pieces of track right there, another piece of track here, and a short piece of track here, which is made up for in length with the power charger. What is interesting about this is it's extremely basic. There's another starter set that came with the other Camaro styles I told you about, but this was the one for this year, 2008. At least I think it was 2008. What does it say here? Oh no, I take it back. This is for 1994. So this is some of the 90s stuff that I collected. So I had a, collection flurry from about 94 to about 97, 98, and then another one around 2007 and 2008, which is right around the time that my kids were playing Hot Wheels. So the idea is that you can do with a starter set and then add things, just like the old days, just like the Red Line days, and eventually end up with a really big setup. The only thing I didn't like about this set, and you can see it even on the box art right here, or the box photograph right here, is this divot that the track makes right here. It's just way too ugly, okay? And there is no support for it. So I just took this barrel out of some other set and put it underneath there, and that gives it just about the right height. So it's a really cool set. And from the department of I Don't Believe You, Toy King Wonder is, I don't know when, I don't even remember this set. I had it all packed away in storage like a lot of this stuff, okay? And I went and set the power booster up and turned it on and the battery still worked. That's impossible, but that's what happened. Very cool. So that's the starter set. And as I move through the challenging task of making sense out of many sets, parts, pieces, and cars, one of the sets that I found in my archaeology of my own back room is a rather complete set from the mid-2000s. This is the Power Loop Stunt Set. And I remember setting this up only once or twice when the kids were little, and remembering that it was one of the better sets that we had from this period, because the focus wasn't so much on crashing cars, but making them do some pretty cool stunts. Now, this was circa 2007 and included a car with it. It was part of the Trick Track sets that Hot Wheels put out during this time. And essentially, they're almost like Rube Goldberg type sets that you could connect them together and add them on. And by that I mean making the cars do a whole bunch of weird things to accomplish something. Kind of like reminiscent of the old Mousetrap game or any other Rube Goldberg type device. If you're familiar with that, you can always look that up. But I remember the Power Loop Stunt Set being a pretty good one. And here I have it set up. I found basically all the pieces were still in the box, and the box was unlike some of the flimsy cardboard boxes. This is a thicker cardboard, and it had a carry handle on it, so you could keep it in this reusable storage box. So that was kind of nice, and that did help keep everything together. Now, it did say car was included, and it showed a picture of the car. And the one thing I learned as I was going through these sets is not all the cars necessarily that were pictured or in the instructions matched what you got. And I looked through everything, and through my friends like I know them, I don't know these people, but Hot Wheels Wiki, which is pretty cool, I found it was this car, which is the Phantasm. It says Phantasm 2009 Power Loop Stunt Set. Now they're saying 2009, but my box here, 2008, so this probably ran for a couple of years. But they identified the car, which gave me a lead. I went through a million cars, and guess what I found? I did have it all along. There it is. And as you can see, it is the Phantasm. So that's the car. So this is the Power Loop set up in its entirety. I don't have, the one piece that's not working well is I'm missing part of the clamp. So I just have this sitting up on a little carry case right here for the first part of it. And how this works is, the main component is this really cool modification of a power booster. And this thing is nuts. It really is. You have to kind of see it to believe it, if any of you kids out there haven't seen this thing yet. But basically, here's the traditional part of the power booster, and they built in all these trick tracks, all these crisscrossing tracks right here that can, you can set this thing up for manual or automatic mode. It really is bizarre, and it really is a contraption. I like the Hot Wheels banners that snap in on the top of all this stuff. But basically, all of these trick track sets are triggered by these unique little funnel-shaped triggers, where a car will go in, hit this wedge, and it's tapered so it doesn't damage anything, right? Okay, and then that will trigger an action. In this set, there are two triggers. One will flip this right here, which will trigger this rubber band powered boot, which will knock a car around this loop, believe it or not. And then where the Lamborghini is sitting right now, it will go under this trigger. This trigger will release the tension on this hold down nub, allow the Phantasm to go backwards down into this little catcher right here, which has an angle ramp in it, go forward and get shot out into the power rollers right there, and go around and around crisscrossing. You'll have a hard time probably even seeing it when I video it. And then depending on how you set it up, with this switch right here, how many loops it will go before it will eject the car out, or it'll do it just one time. The direction of whether the car goes and continues on looping or gets ejected out on this strip is handled by how this is positioned, the position of your manual or automatic switch, and then how many loops you have it set to execute with this little switch right here. So it's all just kind of a nutty sort of thing to make it happen, and I'm going to try to show you this in operation, which is nuts. So the first thing you do is you take off this one so that we have tension on this holder, and we put the Phantasm facing forward on it so it rolls backwards. And we'll roll backwards into this catcher, this little hopper, which is a ramp. The car rolls forward and the action starts. Now, we'll try the first one as manual. So we flip this switch from A to M. There's our on-off switch right here. It really only comes on when you lower this door. So now those rollers are going. We pull back this boot, which is held in tension by a rubber band, and I put the little Lamborghini in place right there, making sure that this doesn't have any tension on it, and that's lowered down. Then I put one of my spider cars up here to start this process. So I'm going to try to capture this for you right now. You ready? Okay. He fell off the loop before he could be shot out of there. Okay. So by manual, I can decide when I want to hit this trigger right here and send him free. If I put it to automatic, okay, then it will do it according to how much I've got this reset set on. So let's just drop the car in here manually and see if you see what I mean. Okay. He shot out that side because I had it on one loop and then eject. So if we push it back down and I say, okay, let's do more than one loop. What if I put it all the way over here? Is that cool or what? Okay. So let's show all these pieces independently. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do the first part of it, which will show the spider car going down just a gravity slide right here, hitting this trigger, giving the boot to the Lamborghini, which will go around here and then go into this little trigger, which you can see. You can't really see, it's a little off screen here. I'll show a close-up. And I'm going to do this, and then we'll do slow-mo so you can see it in action. Are you ready? Here we go. Now, as I said, this is part of the Trick Track set, and I found in my collection here an item that had never been opened or used, or it had been opened, but I don't think we ever used it or set it up. And it was this very basic little set, and it was called a tail bash, a dyno tail bash, and of course it was part of the Trick Track set. Very simple and very cool, and it did include a car. There's the car right there. I found the Dino Tail Bash, which is the CCM Country Club muscle car. And it was part of this set. And if you look, there's the car included right there. And I was able to find it in the collection. So that's really cool. So here is the dinosaur, the Dino, from this set, and it's very, very basic. You basically have another one of these cone-shaped triggers right here, and what it does is there's a little spring on this guy's tail, and he whacks a car into action. As you can see, I shoehorned in my Dino tail bash, and we're going to set it just like that, and there's the trigger. There's the Dino head. And I'll put another car in this Rube Goldberg setup right here. I'll put my little speed racer on here to hit this trigger, to hit the Lamborghini, which will hit the Phantasm. Okay, and it's going to get started by the Country Club Muscle CCM car right here, which is going to hit that funnel. So here we go. Wow, very cool. So as you can imagine, you could have a whole bunch of these or other triggers lined up and just keep moving the car through it, and one set will pick up where another one left off. Very, very cool. Needless to say, you could also convert this little jump track right here. I put up a paper towel as kind of a barrier right there, a paper towel roll to keep the car from being beaten up too much. But you could connect this to another long piece of track into a supercharger system and then a regular raceway. This can be your kickoff to an endurance run. But this is one of my favorite of these Aero sets because they're extremely cleverly engineered and a lot of fun, and you can add on accessories to it, so it's very cool.